The anime begins with a boy named Kimito Kagurazaka sleeping in class. Then a girl named Eri Erihene wakes him up and asks for his help to get drinks from the cafeteria. Kimito quickly goes to buy them, but suddenly a group of muscular men arrive and take him away in a car. After driving for a while, the car stops in front of a school that only admits girls, and that's where Kimito is left. Then a woman named Miyuki Kujo appears, claiming to be his servant at the school. Miyuki explains that the school is for girls from wealthy families, and its existence is kept secret from the outside world. Afterwards, Kimito was led to a room where he met Sayuri Kimachi, the principal of the school. She explained that many graduates of the school found it hard to fit into society because they were too privileged. This is because they often became lazy and addicted to online games. That's why Kimito was chosen to be a role model for regular people, because of his modest achievements and the rumor about him of being gay. It's known that Kimito has a preference for muscular men. The information was revealed by his childhood friend Eri. However, Kimito admits he's just a regular guy, which worries Sayuri and Miyuki. To protect the school's reputation, Kimito would be taken to an undisclosed location. However, if he stayed, he'd have to undergo genital surgery. Upon hearing this, Kimito quickly clarifies that he only admires the muscles of handsome men. Afterwards, Sayuri promptly guided Kimito to his classroom. It was explained that most of the students in the class were still innocent and had never interacted with men. As the classroom door opened, he was greeted by beautiful female students. There was also a class president named Reiko Arisugawa, who introduced herself. Suddenly, Kimito's mobile phone rang, surprising the students who were unfamiliar with such a device. It turned out that the students there didn't know what a cell phone was. Miyuki explained that the device was a smartphone used for communication. Immediately, they crowded around Kimito's cell phone, seeing it as a strange object. After checking his cell phone, Reiko, acting on behalf of her friends, returned it. However, she first placed the phone in a gift box before handing it to Kimito. When passing him the box with the phone inside, their hands accidentally touched. This shocked Reiko because it was the first time she had been touched by a man other than her father. Following that incident, another female student named Aika Tenkubasi suddenly grabbed Kimito's hand and dragged him towards the schoolyard, intending to kiss him. However, Kimito managed to avoid it. Aika explained that she had heard stories from older students that kissing a man would make her dreams come true. Kimito jokingly added that if she wanted her dream to come true, she had to roll around and bark. Surprisingly, Aika followed Kimito's playful suggestion. Shortly after, Reiko and her friends arrived, concerned about Kimito's well-being, and Aika then departed. Afterward, Miyuki led Kimito to his room. She explained that the room had been renovated at the cost of 100 million yen to ensure his comfort. When the bedroom door opened, Kimito was surprised to find that the room looked exactly like his own, complete with 2 posters featuring pictures of women's thighs hanging on the walls. A little while later, Aika entered Kimito's room. Annoyed, she mentioned that she had rolled over 58 times, but her dream hadn't come true yet. It was revealed that Aika's dream was to become the most popular student in the class. She then took the initiative to learn about the lifestyle of the lower middle class in hopes of gaining admiration from other students. During class, Reiko invited Kimito to attend the welcoming ceremony in the hall that evening. It was evident that Reiko was a smart student who could answer all the teacher's questions in class and was skilled in various activities, such as crafts and sports. On the other hand, Aika lacked proficiency in any particular skill. During break time, Reiko escorted Kimito to the cafeteria. Upon arrival, he was surprised to find that the school cafeteria resembled a luxurious 5-star restaurant. Similarly, most of the dishes served were French cuisine. When Kimito ordered Japanese food, he was only given instant noodles by the waiter. Kimito questioned why he was only served instant noodles, but Reiko and her friends were curious by them. Kimito then explained that to enjoy instant noodles, all they needed to do was add hot water and the included spices. As they were more curious about the noodles, Kimito ended up sharing his cup of instant noodles with all the students present. Each of them received a small portion of noodles served on small plates, resembling the presentation of French cuisine. In the evening, Kimito attends a welcome party for new students, which is held for him. During the party, Reiko asks him to dance, and she feels nervous when Kimito is about to take her hand. Short after, they both enjoy dancing together like skilled dancers. After the party ends, Aika enters the room and reads a comic book. After finishing it, she gets inspired to have the strength like the character in the comic. She then looks at Kimito and pretends to cast a spell to freeze time. Surprisingly, Kimito becomes motionless like a statue. When Aika tries to kiss him, he quickly breaks the spell, revealing that he was only playing along and there's a limit to the pretend time stopping. Shortly after, Reiko was spotted in the bathroom. As she was about to leave, she found Kimito standing in front of the door, waiting to take a shower. They exchanged glances, leading Reiko to feel as though her innocence was lost, and that she must eventually marry Kimito. Throughout class, Reiko struggled to concentrate, her mind consumed by thoughts of her future husband, wedding, and honeymoon. The following day, Kimito received a message from his mother. She informed him that their home's bathroom had been transformed into a hot spring. Their house had undergone extensive renovations because Kimito had become a role model at his current school. In other words, his mother had arranged for Kimito's success to benefit the family financially without them having to work hard. While at the park, Kimito met a girl named Hakua Siodame who was writing on the wall. Unexpectedly, she removed her clothes. Kimito then put on her clothes and brought her to his room. It's revealed that she can't wear her own clothes, and she happens to be the same age as Kimito. Because Hakua was hungry, Kimito made quick noodles for her. Later, she resumed writing and undressed again. Suddenly, Aika arrived and witnessed the situation. Kimito became flustered and clarified that it wasn't what Aika assumed. Following the incident, Kimito accompanied Hakua back to her dormitory. It turned out she stays in a laboratory, and she's really smart in both industry and mathematics. She has received numerous medals and awards for her achievements. Later, Hakua was invited to dine by her maid, but Kimito mentioned he already gave her instant noodles. The maid was surprised because usually Hakua sticks to the scheduled menu. Afterward, Kimito bid farewell to head back to his room, despite Hakua wanted him to stay. Meanwhile, the maids discussed Hakua's situation in an unusual manner. They speculated that Hakua might have feelings for Kimito. While walking with Reiko, Kimito was suddenly approached by a woman named Karen Jinryo, wielding a katana sword. Spotting an insect flying near Kimito, she swiftly struck at it with her sword. Reiko and her friends, witnessing this, misunderstood Karen's intention, thinking she wanted to attack Kimito. They'd even called Kimito an insect, adding to the confusion. Reacting to their words, Karen aimed to strike Kimito with her sword, following their lead. Fortunately, Kimito managed to evade her attack. Karen then unleashed a strong gust of wind, causing the clothes of the women present, including Kimito, to tear apart. Eventually, they collided with each other, and Kimito somehow managed to subdue Karen. However, to their surprise, Kimito's pants tore suddenly, catching both of them off guard. Karen, intending to retaliate, was once again taken aback as her own clothes tore unexpectedly. She mistakenly believed it was due to Kimito's attack, but it was actually caused by her own actions. Realizing her defeat, Karen admits defeat and offered to become Kimito's servant. After that, Kimito found himself in his room with Aika, Karen, and Hakua. Shortly after, a waiter arrived with a box of cell phones for Aika to use in order to gain popularity. Aika eagerly attempted to take a selfie with one of the phones. Upon seeing the photo, she complimented herself on her attractive face. Karen also wanted to take a picture, and eventually, all four of them posed for a photo together. The following day, Reiko invited Kimito to join a tea party with her other female friends. He wanted to accept her invitation, but Aika suddenly intervened, claiming that Kimito had a prior appointment with her. Consequently, the tea party went ahead without Kimito's presence. While enjoying their tea, one of Reiko's friends remarked that Kimito and Aika appeared to have a special bond, noting Aika's familiarity with Kimito compared to the other female friends. This comment angered Reiko, who scolded her friend before leaving the gathering. The next day in class, Kimito noticed one of the girls looking unhappy. It turned out she was the same girl Reiko had scolded during the tea party the night before. Meanwhile, Reiko seemed sad too, realizing she had been rude to her friends. Kimito went over to Reiko, and she told him everything. Later, Kimito shared what Reiko had told him with Aika, and asked for advice on how they could patch things up. Aika suggested using a popular cell phone that she really wanted to use to be popular, but she gives it up so that Reiko and her friend's relationship can be restored. The next day, Kimito gathered all the students and asked them to take their seats for an event. Then he called Reiko into the classroom. He mentioned that Reiko was dressed up like the tough guys in Japan. Next, Reiko sent a short message saying "I'm sorry" to everyone's phones in the audience. She apologized to her friend for being rude at a tea party recently. Afterward, they took a selfie together, and others there wanted pictures with Reiko too. After the event ended, Reiko thanked Kimito, who credited Aika for the idea. Upon hearing this, Reiko immediately approached Aika. Instead of thanking her, Reiko expressed dislike towards her. They ended up in a fight. Seeing this, Kimito focused on a particular body part of the two women in front of him. Suddenly, Hakuo arrived with Karen, holding a registration form to join the club for ordinary people. Reiko seemed excited about joining the club. However, Aika disagreed with her joining because Reiko already had her own group of friends. Reiko argued that she could still be friends with both her current circle and the club members. This led to another argument between Aika and Reiko. The next morning, Kimito was surprised to find Hakuo in his room, saying that she was very hungry. Kimito checked his fridge and found only a few potatoes. He then peeled and cooked them into potato cakes. They both ate together afterward. Afterwards, Hakuo reads a book filled with funny puzzles that sound strange to her. It turns out she was exploring the ergodic hypothesis. After sharing some jokes, Kimito guides Hakuo to her room, where she sees a doll resembling Kimito on her bed. Meanwhile, Aika, Reiko, and Karen discuss Hakuo's increased time with Kimito lately. They start to see Hakuo as their rival. They decide to wait for Hakuo in Kimito's room, and eventually she arrives. Finding Kimito absent, Hakuo wants to leave quickly, but Aika blocks her exit. As a result, Hakuo stays in Kimito's room. While there, Hakuo reads manga silently without saying a word. Despite various cakes and tea being offered, she shows no interest. A few moments later, the waiter brought the sushi rolls, and she enjoyed them. As usual, after eating, Hakuo felt inspired and wrote a formula on the wall while taking off her clothes. Feeling tired, she eventually fell asleep and was taken back to her room by her maid. Meanwhile, Kimito was playing a dating simulation game. He expressed his fondness for his anime girlfriend. Aika overheard Kimito's words and he explained that the voice actor of the game was his childhood friend, Eri. Curious, Aika decided to play and ended up becoming addicted to the game unexpectedly. Shortly after, Reiko came searching for Kimito, but he wasn't there. Instead, she found Kimito's manga and began to read it. To her surprise, most of the manga featured female characters on the cover. After reading for a while, both Reiko and Aika became hungry. They hurried to the kitchen and discovered a cake and a bottle of soda on the table. They shared the food and drink and enjoyed it together. A few moments later, Aika and Reiko accidentally spilled their drinks, soaking their clothes. They had to remove their wet clothes as a result. This led Aika to envy a particular aspect of Reiko's body, sparking a quarrel between them. Shortly afterward, Kimito returned and found his Yori comic on the floor. He witnessed a scene similar to Yori's story happening between Aika and Reiko in real life. The following day, the students went on a field trip to a park frequented by ordinary people. The atmosphere there reflected the life of the lower middle-class community. They seemed to enjoy the various activities until they were amazed when they encountered a real crosswalk for the first time. Afterwards, they stumbled upon a fast food restaurant and were surprised to have to line up individually, place their orders, and then wait to be called when their orders were ready. Next, they visited a playground. Reiko immediately tried the doll claw machine and won a doll, which made her very happy. Meanwhile, Aika opted to try the dance game she had practiced before. Later, two twin students asked Kimito to teach them how to use the doll claw machine. He demonstrated and successfully won a doll, which he then gave to the twins. Kimito then tried to teach the students how to play the dance game, but they ended up bumping into each other. Aika came to their aid and helped them complete the game. This made her popular and brought her closer to other female students. Meanwhile, Karen stood in front of the mirror, holding a pink dress, appearing unsure whether to wear it. Kimito suggested she try it on immediately. Despite the dress being slightly small, Karen looked attractive and confident. Later that night, Aika and Reiko shared a room. Aika was chatting with her new friends and showed Reiko a text message she had sent to all her contacts. The message explained why Aika had often been alone and asked her classmates to be good friends with her. Some time later, Aika was having lunch in the cafeteria when several female students approached her, indicating she was becoming well-known in her class. While waiting in front of the elevator, Kimito informed Aika that the Commoners Club was disbanded. Although she felt sad about the news, Aika was also happy because she had gained popularity. Later, Kimito was relaxing in the warm water pool when Aika suddenly joined him. Soon after, more of Aika's female friends arrived. Kimito quickly hid underwater, where he could admire the beautiful scenery. However, he eventually lost consciousness after being underwater for so long. Aika noticed this and promptly brought him to the surface, attempting to administer artificial respiration. Unbeknownst to her, their actions were witnessed by her other female friends. Upon waking up, Kimito was greeted with teasing remarks from Miyuki. Afterwards, he met with Aika and mentioned that people had mistaken them for being in a relationship. Karen then arrived and immediately expressed her feeling of betrayal by hitting him. Aika clarified to Karen, Reiko, and Hakuya that she and Kimito were not dating. Meanwhile, Miyuki, who comes from a noble family, prefers to act as a servant. She has strange habits, such as kissing Kimito while he sleeps and insulting him when he wakes up. The following day, Kimito shows Aika an online prediction app. The app reveals that she has a tendency to be too honest, which can sometimes hurt others. It also suggests that Aika's lucky color is green. Immediately, she puts on a green outfit, hoping it will bring her luck. Later, Kimito decides to predict Karen and Hakuya's compatibility using the app. Surprisingly, the app can also assess compatibility levels between individuals. Reiko suggests measuring the compatibility of all the girls with Kimito. Aika is the first to test her compatibility with him, and the result is 80 points. This score is quite high, especially since a previous forecast indicated that she and Kimito are a compatible pair. Next up is Reiko's turn. Surprisingly, she scores 90 points, which delights Reiko, but disappoints Aika at the same time. Then it's Hakuya's turn for the prediction. The forecast app displays a low score of only 50 points, possibly due to Hakuya's young age. Lastly, Karen's turn comes for prediction. However, the app doesn't show any results, displaying 0 points. Upon investigation, it's revealed that Kimito had entered Karen's date of birth incorrectly. After correcting it, the result is astonishing, 100 points. This outcome sparks protests from Aika and Reiko, despite the result remaining the same after several repeated predictions. The following day, Kimito woke up to Miyuki's usual teasing. He asked Miyuki about her strange habits, but she avoided answering. Deciding not to press further, Kimito watched a wrestling match on his phone. Shortly after, Karen arrived, still affected by the previous day's prediction. Suddenly, she attacked Kimito with her sword, tearing his clothes. She then took him to her room to fix his clothes. In Karen's room, which had a traditional Japanese style, Kimito noticed Karen's feminine side. She showed skill in sewing and making tea. Karen then asked Kimito to turn around as she prepared to change clothes, which sparked some inappropriate thoughts in his mind. In short, Karen is currently sewing Kimito's clothes. Impressed, he compliments her sewing skills, suggesting she could be a perfect wife. This embarrasses Karen, who then notices Kimito's torn underwear and offers to fix it too. With some persuasion, Kimito agrees to let her fix it. Suddenly, Aika, Reiko, and Hakuya enter the bedroom. Luckily, Karen and Kimito manage to hide before they're seen. However, their hiding spot is cramped, causing Kimito to accidentally bump into Karen. Eventually, they are discovered, but Kimito manages to evade detection by using wrestling moves he learned from a video he watched earlier. Meanwhile, the servants were discussing Hakuya's maturing relationship with Kimito, which seemed unusual. They decided to arrange a visit to Hakuya's place, making it appear spontaneous. The following day, Hakuya's maid invited Kimito to observe the maid's work, and he agreed happily. However, it was revealed that Kimito was actually being set up, with the servant's true intention was to bring Hakuya closer to him. Upon arrival at the designated location, Hakuya was found monitoring various servers on several computers. The maid then requested Hakuya to accompany Kimito around. Eventually, they ended up playing with sand. When the waiters served only one plate of food, claiming all others were in use, Hakuya and Kimito had no choice but to feed each other. Moreover, they were given only one glass for drinks, along with a straw reminiscent of couples in romantic movies. Then the head waiter, Miyuki, arrived and promptly made the other servants immediately leave. In short, the servants' plans were quite successful, marked by a celebratory drinking party with other waiters. It was revealed that Miyuki was the one who selected Kimito as the sample at school, hinting at something she was keeping secret from the other maids. In the afternoon, Kimito returned to the classroom because he had forgotten something. Reiko was still there, erasing the blackboard. They both paused for a moment to admire the beautiful evening view through the open window. Reiko then suggested teaching Kimito flower arrangement, and he agreed. She also asked him to call her by her first name, but he felt embarrassed to do so. While joking with Kimito and others, Reiko was interrupted by a maid who informed her that her mother and brother were waiting in the principal's office. When she arrived, indeed her mother and brother were there. Her mother informed her that her wedding date had been set, and her future husband would visit the next day, so she needed to go home temporarily. Reiko couldn't refuse her mother's request. It's known that the school was once used by wealthy men to find a spouse. In the evening, Reiko gets a call from Aika. Reiko explained that she had carry out the tradition of arranged marriages, as both her grandmother and mother did. The next day, Aika informed Kimito that Reiko didn't actually want to go through with it. So they decided the only option was to rescue Reiko. Kimito received a text from Reiko's brother, who offered to help thwart the matchmaking. As night approached, Kimito, Aika, Karen, and Hakuya snuck out of the school building, but Miyuki caught them. Surprisingly, she allowed them to leave the school building. After they successfully left, Reiko's brother picked them up in his car and took them to where Reiko was supposed to meet her future husband. The following morning, they reached the location, which was heavily guarded. Karen was eager to confront the guards and unleashed her sword, causing chaos by splitting the ground. Despite this distraction, they were stopped by a large man named Takemiya. Reiko's brother then tried to divert Takemiya's attention. Despite the obstacles, Kimito and his friends managed to ascend the stairs towards the building. They encountered numerous drones, blocking their path. Aika broke a jar and hurled its fragments at the drones, clearing the way. As they pressed forward, a metal door fell in an attempt to block their path. Fortunately, a muscular man held the door open, allowing them to continue. Hakuya proceeded to the control room to deactivate all the building's security systems. However, their progress was stopped again by a robot blocking their path. With Karen's growing strength, they easily overpowered the robot. Hakuya then hacked into a drone and guided Kimito to the meeting room. Kimito and his friends successfully entered the meeting room. Upon noticing Kimito's presence, Reiko's mother politely asked him to leave. Reiko then boldly declared to her mother that she would leave the family if forced into marriage. In response, Reiko's mother stated that leaving would mean she was no longer part of the family. Kimito assured Reiko that she could always come to his house, where he would seek his family's approval. Moved by Kimito's determination, Reiko's parents softened their stance. Reiko then returned to school with Kimito and the others, maintaining her status as a member of the noble family. They resumed their school life with renewed joy. Moral lesson from the story: if you ever find yourself accidentally enrolled in a school for wealthy girls, just remember that instant noodles and a good sense of humor can save the day, especially when facing unexpected marriage proposals and sword-wielding maidens.